Ahava blessings. Welcome to this episode of Embodying the Shekhinah. This podcast is here to support us in awakening, embodying, integrating, remembering our soul essence. My name is Aurea. I am an ordained Magdalene priestess, a Reiki master energy, and a sound alchemist. And in this episode, we are going to dive deeper into the energies of this new lunar cycle of Scorpio of Chesvan. We just had the new moon a few days ago, and it's very potent new moon. I still feel it. This entire lunar cycle of Chesvan is ruled by the Aramaic-Hebrew creation frequencies of the Nun and the Dalet. And in order for us to understand the energies and as well as the astrological impact of all of these cosmic frequencies and how to use them, I really feel that it is best to go to the source. It is said in the book of creation, it is said in the ancient traditions of Yeshua and Mary Magdalene and the Christ Magdala school, Mother Mary, all of these high holy teachers, these ascended beings, these ascended masters that incarnated, they believed that the Aramaic-Hebrew creation letters, they created the world. And each cycle, each lunar cycle, allows us to dive deeper into the teachings of the two creation frequencies that govern that month. So because this is the new lunar cycle of Chesvan, of Scorpio, the Aramaic-Hebrew creation frequencies that apply are the Nun, which created Scorpio. The Nun is the fish, and the Dalet, which is the ancient ruler, the traditional ruler of Scorpio, Mars, the Dalet. And Dalet means door. It also means initiation. This is a potent new moon because there are several intense oppositions. There's a few grand trines, and I go into the astrology. My apologies for I'm thinking different things and receiving information. I go into the astrological correspondences of this moon in the previous episode. This one is a deep dive into the Aramaic-Hebrew creation frequencies because this lunar cycle is one of intense transformation. It is one where your womb energy, your sexual energy, the energy of creation that flows through us, the energy that is the energy of the divine, this energy it's super intense, it's super activated. There's two things that can happen. We can allow this energy to take us deep into chaos, into division, into discord, into disharmony, into dis-ease, or we can elevate this energy because the sexual creative energy is the serpent consciousness. Don't be afraid. I will explain this to you. I know that there is a lot, there is so much information out there, and a lot of it is a distorted version of the truth. Serpent consciousness is something all human beings have. It happened in the Garden of Eden. It supposedly led to the fall. However, the fall is something that was misinterpreted. And the reason I say misinterpreted is because of how it has been used to manipulate, to control, to keep us away from the truth, from our connection to the divine. And this is where these Hebrew Aramaic frequencies, where they come in, because the Nun represents Yeshua. Yeshua was known as a Mashiach. Mashiach is Aramaic. It means Messiah. Messiah means anointed one. It is one who embodied wisdom and transmitted that wisdom. Mary Magdalene was a Mashiach. In these times, in these ancient biblical times, there were many Mashiachs. And there were many Mashiachs, there were many traditions, there were many esoteric wisdom teachings. Yeshua and Mary Magdalene and Mother Mary, they were part of one lineage, the Chokhmah traditions. And the purpose of Yeshua was not to come back, like they say in like the distorted teachings have now basically said, Messiah needs to come back to save humanity. That is a completely erroneous translation and misappropriation of what he represented, because Yeshua embodied and incarnated as an ascended being. He learned the mystery teachings. He embodied the wisdom in order to liberate us as a humanity, to teach the people that we do not need intermediaries, that we ourselves are the Mashiach, that it is up to us to purify and elevate our sexual creative energy in order to ascend, in order to elevate, in order to embody our soul consciousness. And rather than living from the ego, we live a soul-led existence. That was what he came to teach us. And somewhere along the ways between the translation into Greek and into Latin and into the different languages and into the Council of Nicaea and Emperor Constantine, who decided that, he wanted to consolidate power because the Roman Empire was fragmenting. So he all of a sudden converted to Christianity because he knew that he could use religion to consolidate power under his authority. And there were so many gospels, the gospel of Mary, the birth of Mary, the gospel of Philip, the gospel of Thomas. There were so many esoteric Gnostic gospels that were not included in the translation, not even just in the translation or mistranslation. They were not included in what we call the New Testament because they were deemed heretical, because they did not align with what Constantine wanted, which was a set of teachings that he could use to manipulate, to control, to consolidate his power and authority under a one God. This is why all organized religions really are, in my opinion, problematic. Because the moment that any human being believes that they themselves are the power, because we all have a serpent consciousness, and if we do not do the inner work to purify and elevate this serpent consciousness, all it does is recreate from the karmas, the traumas, the limiting beliefs, the programs, from all of the muck that is in our yesod. And you have a yesod, a womb space, whether you are in the masculine embodiment or in a feminine embodiment. Either way, whatever denomination you want to, think you are, because again, this month is about transcending the ego, who you think you are, all of those identities. So we go back to purifying the sexual energy, because if not, we will create chaos. We will live from a distorted consciousness that only seeks power, only seeks to manipulate, only seeks to control and to divide, to live and perpetuate duality. And we see this in our world all over the place. We see it supposedly in some religious or spiritual figures that they're only showing you one side, the side that they think appeals to your wound. This is how they sell their courses. Oh, I went through this traumatic experience, and they use that traumatic experience to hit a nerve within us, a nerve that leads to lack, a nerve that leads to fear, whether it's fear of missing out, whether it's fear of not being accepted, or whatever fear we are plugging into. It's a control mechanism. It's come here because I have the solution. It's not come here so you can see how you are the solution. You co-created your experience, and you yourself have the ability to connect to the divine, to connect to the higher frequencies, embody that higher frequencies through practices, through breathwork, to spiritual practices, through meditation, however you do it. You have the ability to purify and elevate your own sexual energy. Let me show you how. Those are two different approaches. One preys on you and seeks to put you in a position of lesser and somehow weaker The other seeks to elevate you and inspire you and teach you how you can be self-sufficient, how you can use the wisdom yourself in order to align with the light. And it is really important that we do align with the light, because we can use these powerful creation energies. We can use them for ill will. We can use them to manipulate, to control. We can use, and many people do use, their sexual energy to manipulate, to control, to whatever. We all know people who do that, who have a very powerful magnetic presence. And what do? They lead people astray with it. Hitler was one of those people. He led people astray with his sexual energy because he was magnetic and people gravitated towards him. And when they didn't gravitate towards him, he used fear. Anything that seeks to perpetuate duality and separation is not your friend. And this is what the noon teaches us. The noon is the fish, the yoni portal. It is the wisdom that is accessible to all. And this is why it is the symbol of Yeshua. It is the cosmic yoni. It is the divine feminine codes. It is the reception of those divine feminine codes through humility, through the purification process of your sexual energy. It is about embodiment, presence, prophecy, living your transmissions. It is also about being completely open. We cannot receive if we are not open. The noon is very associated with the mem. The mem is the waters of wisdom. We have the ability to be initiated. So before Yeshua, before he came and he basically put what was the different traditions of Judaism, what came later to be known as Judaism, when he came, he basically ruffled so many feathers because he did not abide by what the priestly classes wanted. He was not playing by their rules. He wanted to take the power away from them because they were getting very rich, very fat, very profitable off of controlling humanity. Their ego had gotten in the way. It was no longer about elevating human consciousness. It was about how can I use this priestly authority to continue to feed my lifestyle, to feed the power structure that has been created. And it's no different than what is happening now. So we have the ability with Yeshua, with these teachings, to go back to the source and actually allow ourselves to receive our own revelations, receive our own wisdom, do the inner pure work of purification in order to allow ourselves to align, to embody, to remember that we are soul. Before we took on the karmas, the traumas, the experiences of this lifetime, good and bad, before we decided to incarnate and take them on, we were one with all that is, was, and has been. We were one with the divine, with Allah, God, Goddess, whatever we want to call it. We were in this state of infinite oneness and expansion and creation. We incarnated with that spark of the divine in order to facilitate a greater expansion of this light. We chose to fall, in air quotes, as a humanity so we can rise again. It was part of the learning process of humanity. To alchemize the serpent consciousness, the consciousness that keeps you small, the consciousness that basically is the spine. It can latch onto your spine, and it often does. And this is also the reptilian mind that we have, that part of the brain that lives in fear, and it's all about fight or flight. That part of the brain is the part of the brain that we want to move away from. We want to purify this energy. We want to alchemize the denseness we chose to hold in order to elevate. We cannot elevate if we are in ego. We cannot elevate if we are not in humility. We cannot elevate if we are not willing to see the truth that is being revealed to us. If we're not willing to look at our skeletons and our, little dark corners with cobwebs and the stuff that we hold within, then can we really heal? No, because we're not willing to look deep into what needs our healing and our attention and our intention. So this is a very powerful portal because we have a profound ability to generate the light of creation from within. In a lot of the other cycles, we are given the light, and we're still being given the light from the Creator. However, in this lunar cycle, it is so much more important to be actively doing the inner work to generate this light. The Dalet is the doorway. It is the initiation. It is that which is in physical existence. So the Dalet is everything that is connected to consciousness and the mental matrix. It represents the poor person. Why does it represent the poor person? Because we must be emptied to receive the divine breath of Shekhinah, and we must go through the doorway. We must knock on the doors and be willing to cross the threshold of the doorway, which is an initiation into another level of being in order to receive what the divine wants to gift us. And I've heard many people speak of this, and I actually think it's very relevant. And it's a good reminder because it allows us to put our ego in check. Abundance, fertility, creation, expansion, all of these are gifts. We don't actually accumulate abundance ourselves. We create the space and the channels through purification, through inner work, through spiritual work, through actual physical work to actually, create the business so the money can flow in. We create the avenues and the pathways and we clear the pathways within our own physical template and energetic template in order to receive the abundance from the divine. So even though we think that a certain job or a certain client is what gives us resources, what is truly giving us the resources is the divine. Everything that we do is an extension of divine presence. There is nothing outside of this world that is not part of this unity consciousness. The Dalet is also the four, which is the four elements, the four matriarchs. It is the four worlds. The four is a foundation, and the foundation that we must remember to ground into is not the physical earth, because the physical earth, it's already manifest. The foundation that we must ground into is the Yesod, is the womb. It is the womb of light. It is through the Yesod that we birth the Christ light. So some people, for good, bad, indifferent, doesn't matter. They're waiting for a Messiah. They're waiting for someone outside of them, a teacher, a mentor, whatever, a jab, whatever. They're waiting for something outside of them to save them. And this is the opposite, exact opposite of what the high holy teachers, not just Yeshua, but Yeshua was one of them, Mary Magdalene, Mother Mary. This is the exact opposite of what they taught. They taught you to go within. They taught you how to go through the alchemical process to transform the 7 demons, which are the shadow parts of the 7 lower chakras, into the 7 powers, the 7 blessings. So we have this ability to alchemize and transmute energy. We just have been dumbed down, we have been asleep, and we don't know that we can, but we can. And this lunar cycle is what gives us that impetus, that spark to go within, to activate the divine feminine codes, the 33 codes, to activate the Huba, the sacred flame of holy desire. This is one of the codes that we are activating during this cycle. And we do this through prayer, through meditation, through breath work, through identity. Identity is a very dangerous thing because identity is what keeps us in separation. It is what feeds the ego, the lesser self. It is not unity consciousness because it is of this physical world. It was created in this world in order for us to be able to live this human experience, because we could not live a human life without the ego. We do need the ego. However, we need to know where to put the ego. And it is not in front of your connection with the divine. It is not in front of your soul. Your ego should not be leading you, because your ego is the traumatized part of you, in a sense. It is the repetitive programs. Your ego is the part of you that keeps you in that serpent consciousness. We want to elevate and live from a soul-led consciousness. We want to unify the lower serpent with the celestial kundalini, the higher dragon energy, the Shekhinah in the heart space, so we can expand and live, birth the Christ light. And by birthing the Christ light, we are ourselves embodying the energy of the Mashiach. We are ourselves embodying the energy of wisdom, of creation, of all of these beautiful energies that come with someone who is embodied, someone who is humble, someone who is here to do the work of the soul and the divine, someone who is here to actually elevate humanity, support this elevation and ascension, as opposed to creating more divisiveness and division. This is what we are here to do. This is a powerful month because we really can have wisdom, deep healing revealed to us. We can alchemize karmas and traumas from our lineage. We can dramatically elevate ourselves if we allow ourselves to do the inner work. It is all about going within. Do not be afraid of the water. We must generate the light of creation. It's not just about receiving. It's about why we're receiving. How are we receiving? What are we receiving for? Is it simply to satiate an egoic desire, or are we doing it to align more deeply with the divine, with our soul, with our mission, with our purpose? And the blessings, they will be revealed in the next lunar cycle of Kislev. So it is a potent time to break away from thoughts and belief systems that keep us in separation, that keep us thinking that a solution is outside of us. The solution for every ill of humanity or in your life, whether you want to put it on a micro level or a macro level, is within the human being. We created this mess. We ourselves can fix it. And it's not through pointing the finger, through embodying guilt and shame and blame and separation. That's not how we fix things. We fix things, we correct things by clearing the pathways in our energy field. Because what is already manifest is already manifest. There's nothing you can do about what is manifest. What we are birthing and creating needs to be fixed in the upper world, in the unseen, in the energetics of your template and your physical embodiment. That is where this energy must be fixed with the appropriate intention. I do want to mention this because Scorpio has a very spooky, dark energy, and also we're going into Samhain. So I do want to mention this. There are teachings and a bunch of Bible thumpers, for lack of a better vernacular, that say that, if it's any kind of magic or manifestation, it's evil. If it's meditation, if it's sound healing, whatever it is, it's always evil because they don't understand. In the Bible, in the biblical text, in the original language that they were written in, when they spoke of black magic, it was not the work that we do in terms of crystals or meditation or mantras or mudras or breath work or movement meditations. It was not that. It was not the use of herbs and plants. It was not ritual. It was not incense. It was not any of that. What they spoke about when they spoke about a witch, and actually that's not even the correct word, but when they spoke about black magic, what they spoke about was the misuse of the sexual creative energy for manipulation, to enhance your personal power and to subjugate other people, to control, to manipulate, to ensnare, to put in fear, to put in guilt, basically to control another human being. If you were messing around with free will, that was what was called black magic. It's also what is called black tantra. It's also what it can be, why some people have a distorted perspective on what Kabbalah is. Because Kabbalah is not Hollywood Kabbalah, or the Kabbalah that arose amidst the occult circles in the 19th century. That's not true Kabbalah. That's not true Judaic, pre-Christian mysticism. That's not true mysticism. It is a distortion of the true teachings in order to self-aggrandize certain schools or certain people. And what does it perpetuate? It perpetuates individualistic, egoic, materialistic thinking. It does work, so you can use it for nefarious purposes and to control other people. And in doing that, you are creating karma. And that karma is going to catch up with you. We must learn how to utilize our power, however we use it. Our words are powerful. Our thoughts, the work that we do as healers, everything that I share, everything that people like me share, that is to elevate human consciousness and to support people in embodying their soul. All of that must be framed and have the proper intention behind it. Because if not, then it only serves the ego. And whatever serves the ego does not last. Sure, it's nice and flashy, and it probably is very pretty. Probably is. And it's not truth, because it's not in alignment with truth. It's not the true embodiment of the light in the soul, the light that has no duality. Creation energy. Creation energy is something we all have, and we all must be very mindful of how we use it, why we are doing certain things. We must get to the root cause of why we want things, why we want certain outcomes, why we're doing and engaging in certain actions, why we are responding in the way that we are responding. All of this is important during this lunar cycle of Chesvan. And with knowing why, how, the root cause of all of that we are bringing in and wishing to bring in or deciding to bring in, it is also very, very important to understand that this, particularly the Aramaic-Hebrew creation frequency noon that created Scorpio, it is about receptivity, being open, allowing your vessel to be clear so you can receive. It is about giving and receiving, and knowing that in the giving we are receiving. So how can we anchor these frequencies and these energies in our lives? How can we actually harness the power of the Aramaic-Hebrew creation frequencies for this lunar cycle and work with them? I would suggest that because it is about receptivity and giving is integral to receiving, one of the beautiful practices that I've learned is to take a few moments, 5 moments a day, every day during this lunar cycle, and just pause and take a deep breath and exhale and give something. Maybe it's an exhale of truly trusting that you are divinely protected. Maybe it is a blessing for the land, or saying thank you, or a kind word, or it does not have to be material. It can be material if you would like to have it be material. You see someone who needs a meal or needs a little bit of money, then maybe you just openly give, but it does not have to be material. It is more about the action that is, I would say, unseen, because noon also has to do with the unseen being revealed. So it is more important to pay attention to how are we honoring and giving back to the divine. So it can be an exhale, it can be a prayer for someone, it can be a prayer for the earth. Any which way you can think of giving, I truly encourage you to give, because when we open ourselves to give, we open ourselves to receive. And this isn't with an expectation of anything other than to embody the noon energy of this lunar cycle. That is the only intention behind this act of giving, these five times that we can just pause within our day and just think of something to give, something to open ourselves into, gratefully returning into the cosmic world, into the energetic life. We can also do embodiment practices. We can meditate on the noon. We can tone the noon. And I think I do share, if I have not shared a video on a practice for the noon, I will upload one on my YouTube. But all of that is a way to attune yourself to the rhythm of this cycle. It is a very potent, deeply powerful, and a deeply mystical and transformative month. And the other thing I will say is really allow yourself to shed the fear. I know that sometimes we get caught up in basically thinking, okay, well, if I shed all of these layers, I don't know what's going to happen. It's one step at a time. Allow yourself to reveal what is within you, the light, the hidden light of your soul that is within you. Allow it to breathe. Allow it to shine. Allow it yourself to be open to generating that light and to sharing it. It is a beautiful time, very deeply mystical and transformative time, as I mentioned, and it truly is up to us how we harness these energies in our sovereignty, taking full responsibility for how we are moving in this world. I thank you for listening. Don't forget to tune in to the sound activation for this cycle, not just for this cycle, but for this particular deeper dive into the noon and the Dalet, which is linked below. Please feel free to follow me on social media if you would like to, if you feel called to follow me and you enjoy my work. You can follow me at Instagram at Aurea and at Embodying the Shekhinah. I do welcome connecting with you, as well as on YouTube at Aurea. And if you have any questions, you can feel free to reach out to me. I'm more than happy to receive your questions. And the other thing is, if you do have a specific question, it might be easier to reach me through my website, sophianicreation.com. There is a contact page there, so you can also try that. I'm wishing you a beautiful Shabbat, a wonderful day of the goddess, a very powerful and deeply initiative and transformative and absolutely magical lunar cycle of Chesvan. Ahava. Have a blessed day.